Have you ever got really stuck with your guitar progress? I have, and today I'm going to tell you all about it and how a car accident and Iron Maiden helped me overcome it. What's up, my ninjas? It's Nick from GuitarDojo.ca, and I'm here to help you, the intermediate guitar player, get back into the game of playing guitar faster and easier than you ever thought possible. Time to make music fun again. A long time ago, I was a happy, successful, and young guitar player out and about in the world, making my way and generally enjoying life. I was involved in a really bad car accident. And when I say really bad, I mean as catastrophically bad for a guitar player as you could possibly get. I mean, I had to entirely relearn how to play the guitar from a physical standpoint. I knew what I knew in my head, the theory and techniques, the lines, the shapes and scales, but I couldn't get my hands to move the way I wanted them to, the way they used to. And if I couldn't fix it, I'd never work or play or make music ever again. This is probably similar to where you're at right now, to varying degrees, but I'm sure you've got lines in your head that you want to play, or melodies, or even just licks, but you're having trouble getting them to come out of your head and onto the fretboard. If you're anything like the average guitar player, you've probably got stacks of books on theory and scales and modes and chords and shapes, and you diligently spend hours with a metronome practicing your scales up and down the neck from one position to the next. But at the end of the day, you never really end up getting better at playing actual, real, beautiful music. This is where Iron Maiden starts to come into it. I'm probably as big of an Iron Maiden fan as I am a Dream Theater fan, maybe even bigger. It was my love of Iron Maiden's music that I found the solution to my problem. Here's a fairly standard Iron Maiden rhythm riff. This is a rhythm riff, but it perfectly outlines the minor mode and is a great example of what we would call a modal riff, a riff that's made up of one particular modal sound. I hear you're probably saying right now, yeah, Nick, this is really basic stuff, I get it, but playing basic rhythm riffs isn't really going to help me get better at guitar. I realized the reason why Iron Maiden were so successful and so timeless is because not only their riffs, but many of their melodic lines and harmony lines are also built modally on the most used musical notes, with minor and pentatonic minor taking probably the most precedence. But there are a ton of others as well. What I figured out was that instead of practicing all my modes and scales with a metronome in relatively static positions all over the neck, I could get my mojo back by practicing and actually playing music that I enjoyed. And it would help reinforce my scalar and modal fingerings. So what are some examples? Like in the thumbnail, perhaps one of the most recognizable riffs using a very exotic sounding scale called A Phrygian dominant. Its featured sound is the key to the Powerslave riff, where we outline the flat 2, major 3rd, and flat 6th. It sounds like this. Here's a great lick outlining D minor from Hallowed Be Thy Name. And here's a fun little bit from the Trooper that outlines major quite nicely. Obviously, the underlying harmonic movement is minor. However, the point is to identify these licks that live in nice little shapes that are playable within about a 4-finger spread. It was around this time that I really started developing my fretboard infinity loop system. I'll post a card to a lesson all about it up here. I was able to expand my playing all around the fretboard in a much more physically friendly form that suited my new reality of the physical limitations that were imposed upon my shoulder, my neck, my arm, and my hand at the time. Plus, I was able to play more and think less, which in my books is always a bonus for a bear of very little brains like me. Of course, these 3 examples that I just showed you are just the very small tip of a very large iceberg, but the implications are enormous. Because I was able to grab these small little lines out from some of my favorite songs, I was able to start moving them around the neck and practicing the riffs and licks, not only in different keys, but also different positions, and ultimately was able to gain back much more finger, hand, and playing independence than I had since the accident. Here's one way that this could look. Position shifting. Let's take these 3 examples and show you just one way that you can practice up and down the neck. You've probably heard me say this a lot of times, but the guitar is a transposable instrument, meaning basically anything that you play in one position, you can then play in another position on the neck, with a few limitations of course, but basically find the shape, find the sound. So in the case of all 3 licks I just showed you, all you have to do is shift them up or down a few frets, and now you are in an entirely new key. Not only up and down the fretboard, but this can also be done across the neck as well. Here's how that looks. Ultimately, utilizing this trick to make music fun again rather than just tedious exercises and scale or arpeggio practice was what allowed me to gain back my digital independence and furthered my understanding of the guitar even more than it already was. So what does this mean for you? Well, nothing if you don't take this simple idea and expand it. Learning songs from your favorite bands will help you grow, certainly, but I find that it traps you in the lie that this song, lick, or riff only exists in this one position or scale or place on the neck. Well, that's just not true. It could exist everywhere. You just need to try it. What I'm saying is, learn the songs, then move the songs around and play with them. Pull them apart. Find your favorite riffs and licks from these songs and build exercises out of them. Play them in different keys. And if you want a pro level hack, try putting them in different mode or scale patterns and listen to how it changes the sound of your favorite riffs. Look for modal or scalar examples within those songs and use those as practice building blocks for your own soloing and improvisation around the neck. And this is why Iron Maiden works so great, because many of their riffs and many of their licks work perfectly in 2-string, 4-fret combinations. Utilizing the fretboard map that you now have built into your head, or something like my Fretboard Infinity Loop system, you'll be playing all over the neck freely and effortlessly before you know it. P.S. This only needs to take you about 15 minutes a day. You can spend more time if you wish, but I know time is tight for most of us these days. As you can see, I've got most of my full dexterity back these days, but I still go back time and time again to utilizing these same principles that I've outlined here for you today, and it's all thanks to Iron Maiden. If you'd like to learn more about modes or my Fretboard Infinity Loop system, you can take the foundational lesson here for free, and you'll find links in that lesson on how to get access to the rest of that course and many, many more, as well as the Guitar Dojo app. Or if you simply want to watch some more intermediate standalone guitar lessons, check out this playlist here. As always, I'm Nick Morrison from GuitarDojo.ca. I've been here and you've been wonderful. Keep strumming and we'll see you next Friday.